Explore a world of endless interdimensional whatever. Hello and welcome to our second deep dive into this wonderfully strangely wonderful little game, Fringeworthy from TriTac Games by Richard Lee Toshkla, whatever. Small little game master from Michigan, and how it may or may not have influenced the rest of gaming, especially other transdimensional games like Rifts and Tales from the Loop. So, anybody who reads through this game is going to notice there is a lot of similarities between this and a certain property called Stargate. So, is there any connection? Well, the creator of the role-playing game thought there were similarities, and he contacted a lawyer about suing the creators of Stargate. But the lawyer and Mr. Tochkla eventually concluded their case might not have the merit, as similarities were great enough to prove the Stargate producers stole the idea. The idea of space-time rips are not a common theme in science fiction. In fact, we had time bandits just like a year before. We had time tunnel a few years before that. And, so there was no proof. So there we go. He saw it. He wrote it. He made personal inquiries, but the lawsuit was never filed. As far as we know, this is the first alternate history RPG. So there's no actual citation to this, but it believes that this is the first alternate history role-playing game that we know of that ever came to print in that period of time. So there we go. So a little bit of history into this game. Now, as I said, this version of the game is the D20 version of the game. It's the only version I could find. So the art is pretty much, it looks just like clip art. The crunchy bits are basically stolen from D20 because it's a D20 thing. So the only really good thing about it is the world generation system. So you can generate a gate, and then you generate the world where the gate goes to using these wonderful little tables right here. So that's the only really good takeaway from this game. Is this the best transdimensional RPG? Well, it's a little more streamlined than Rifts. It's definitely different than Tales from the Loop. I love the ideas. If you want, I'm pretty sure there is a Stargate role-playing game. So does this one do it better? The world generation tables are really nice. There's 1, 2, stuff like that. And the lore is great. So, I don't know. Is it worth the $12 that I paid for this? I wanted to have this in my collection for a long period of time. The only version I could find is the D20 version. The original system was way more crunchy. I think this would convert well to simpler systems like Powered by the Apocalypse, or even the D6 system from Mutant Zero / Tales from the Loop. I don't think it keeping it D20 is fine. I don't think it needs the classes. I think it should just have a good system to build a well-rounded individual, considering anybody from any walk of life can be fringe-worthy. One of the things about the game that makes it different than like Stargate or Rifts is only certain people can walk through the fringe. They have to have some extra something in their genome, some to be able to work it based upon their relationship to the original aliens that seeded the planets and seeded the gates across the multisphere billions of years ago. So the history goes, of course, that billions of years ago there was an alien race and they discovered the secret of gate travel and they traveled around and they wanted to be like benevolent seeders and just show up at worlds and give them a little push, and they eventually discovered a race that they thought would make a good helper race. So they sort of pushed this race along genetically and historically and evolutionary, but then this race turned out to actually be a shape-changing race of predators that turned on them and resulted in the pretty much destruction of their society. So now this race of shape-changing, xenomorphic, alien nutzos are traveling around the fringe sphere. And your job as player characters is to work for this secret United Nations government organization, travel to different spheres, explore them, solve problems, correct holes in history, and also investigate what happened to these alien races, deal with these shape-changing doppelganger xenomorphic aliens that want to eat your face, and make the world and the universe safe for them. And then so there you go. The great thing about games like this, transdimensional games, Planescape games, is player characters can do whatever the fuck they want on world Zeta Beta 6 and then leave. And there's no repercussions because there's an infinite number of worlds of Zeta Beta 6 and an infinite number of Earths and an infinite number of loops and an infinite number of spheres. So if they kill Abraham Lincoln on Earth 27.5, Abraham Lincoln is still alive on a billion other infinite Earths. So if you want to run a game of just lots of interplanetary, interdimensional one-shots, and you want to get as gonzo and as weird as you can, and you don't care if the player characters burn every single solitary NPC on the planet to deaths, because that planet technically doesn't count, because there's a million other versions of that planet, this is a great way to do it. So again, the lore, good. The planet generation table's good. Everything else, meh. And I'm fine with it being D20. I don't think it needed to be OGL D20. I think there's probably better D20 systems that could have worked with this. I think it would work great with Powered by the Apocalypse, or even other D6 systems, or like the West End Games D6 systems. So yeah, $12. I don't know. I like it, but it definitely doesn't stand up. I remember it being a lot better and more inspiring when I originally found it. And now it's got good ideas. It's definitely a good source for ideas, but So that brings our second and final deep dive into Fringeworthy. We've discussed its history in relations to Stargate, the similarities, collective unconsciousness. Did Roland Emmerich and company steal the idea? Probably not. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed this. If you do, please let me know down below if you want to see more content like this. And I will talk to you later.